What's going on, guys? Sticks here from the Token Minorities, bringing you another deck on Pokemon TCGO, and today I am bringing you a deck centered around Rayquaza and Deoxys Legend. And before I get into the deck, just a reminder that if you guys liked this video or found it helpful, please leave a like, drop a comment, and maybe subscribe. Really does help us out a lot and lets us do more for you guys. And as for the question of the day, this is really the first Legend deck that I've done. Actually, I don't think I've done any other Legend deck, so this is the first Legend deck that I've done. But for those of you who were not playing in the Heart Gold and Soul Silver era, or for those of you who just simply don't know what Legends are, the Legend cards are basically like a EX type of card, except you need to play 2 cards in order to play it down. So basically it's a much more powerful version of a regular card, except it's usually 2 Pokemon with the exception of, I think, Ho-Oh and Lugia, which is their own set of 2 cards. But they're basically a 2-card combo that you play down, and they're just stronger than, I guess, regular versions of cards. So that's the premise behind it. And my question is, what are your guys' thoughts on like a 2-card combo in the current metagame? I mean, this could be like bringing back Legends, or it could just be like a having to play 2 cards down in order to be able to play a Pokemon, but that Pokemon is just absurdly powerful compared to everything else. So yeah, the question is, what are your thoughts on that? Would you like to see that brought back? And honestly, I think the meta has become too fast for it to work properly. However, in the right situation, like if it was just like absurdly more powerful than EXs or GXs, I think it could make a comeback. But otherwise, I think the meta is just too fast. I would like to see it brought back, but I think that there's a reason that Pokemon hasn't done anything like the Legends since the Legends came out. Because, I mean, yeah, they were cool, but they really, I don't think they affected the metagame in the way that Pokemon was necessarily thinking they would. So, yeah, I think it'd be cool to bring back, but I don't think the meta is conducive to being able to use Legends properly or 2-card combos in the same way that they were meant to be used. And so I really think that it'd be cool, but it wouldn't affect the metagame much. And also I think that Pokemon has just been like, you know what, we tried it, didn't work that well, so we're just kind of going to pretend that that didn't happen. But anyway, let me know what your guys' thoughts are on that in the comment section below. I would love to hear what you guys think and why. But anyway, on to the deck. Like I said, centered around Rayquaza and Deoxys Legend, obviously a legacy deck. 140 HP, so not very bulky, especially for a 2-card combo that gives up 2 prizes. So, I mean, you can kind of see how the original Legends were just power creeped completely out of there. I mean, I don't know. I mean, it doesn't work the way it does. Even the legacy meta isn't necessarily conducive to Legends working well, because, I mean, only 140 HP. A lot of these guys, most of them, have 2 weaknesses, heavy retreat cost. They have weird attack costs or attacks that are cheap but don't do as much as you would want them to, and then a lot of them give up 2 prizes as well. So basically you just have a weaker EX that's harder to get out. However, this deck actually works pretty well, because if you look at Rayquaza Deoxys Legend, yes, it's not very bulky. Its types really don't help it much in terms of hitting for weakness, but Ozone Buster does 150 with the Silver Bangle. You can do 180, so that's like a magic number for knocking out EXs, and then you have to discard all fire energy attached to it. So 4 energy, 150. Not necessarily a deck that, or a card that you would, or attack. Sorry, wow, I went through 3 things and just whiffed on all of them. Not necessarily a attack that you would usually center a deck around, because it's very specific, it's a very expensive cost, and it has a very negative downside. However, its Pokebody is what makes it worth it. Basically, it is Lugia's Overflow ability. It's the Delta Plus trait that are on those like Roaring Skies and Ancient Origin cards. But if you knock out a Pokemon with damage from this attack, you take an extra prize. So all of a sudden, that 150 and 180 with a Silver Bangle really turns into some pretty fantastic math, because all you have to do is knock out 2 EXs with Ozone Buster, and you win the game. So that is a very, very cool combination, and potentially has some viability. Now, I know that this version is not, I don't necessarily think it's the best version for it, because this version focuses on getting a turn 1 Ozone Buster as opposed to being able to get consistent Ozone Buster. So I think if you want to use Rayquaza and Deoxys Legend, I would recommend an Emboar build where you can just constantly attach fire energy each turn, as opposed to this build where it's very much, all right, let's go all out, use like over half our resources to get a turn 1 Ozone Buster, and then hopefully we can win this match in 2 turns. But you know me, I love turbo decks, so that's why I decided to go with this version of the deck as opposed to the more consistent Emboar. And one thing that's also worth pointing out, this card does not get shut down by Garbodor. Actually, a lot of these cards don't. Well, actually, the only thing that does get shut down is Ho-Oh, because Garbodor shuts down abilities. But as you look, Smeargle, Pokepower, Shaymin, Pokepower, and then Rayquaza Deoxys Legend, Pokebody. Garbodor shuts down abilities. It does not shut down Pokepowers or Pokebodies, so this deck actually can work against Garbodor niche, but unfortunately, you rely on Ho-Oh for a lot of the energy acceleration, so it kind of can get shut down by Garbodor, hence why we're running a Tool Scrapper. But either way, I mean, it's still a very, very, very cool deck that I would recommend you guys try out if you have the resources to get the cards. But, like I said, centered around Rayquaza Deoxys Legend and just being able to get energy on it turn 1, because it does have 4 energy necessary on it, and 4 very specific, so you can't use like a DCE or anything like that. So the entire combo is around getting energy onto the field and getting it onto Rayquaza and Deoxys Legend. First and foremost, we have Smeargle. Smeargle, portrait ability, look at your opponent's hand, select a supporter you find there, and use it as his Pokemon's ability. That just helps you cycle through more of your deck, get more of your resources out, be able to use more of your resources in order to be able to get that turn 1 Ozone Buster. So Smeargle, you're going to be switching between them a lot, super scooping them up, using multiple portraits per turn in order to get that turn 1 attack that you so want. So Smeargle, need to run 3, because if you only have 1, it's not nearly as powerful as having 2. I mean, you just get like a double supporter, and you haven't even used your supporter for the turn yet. So that's why Smeargle is so ridiculously powerful in this deck. Running 3 Running 3 Ho-Oh-EX for the Rebirth ability once per turn. If this Pokemon is in your discard pile, you may flip a coin. If heads, put this Pokemon onto your bench and attach 3 different types of energy cards from your discard pile onto this Pokemon. Ho-Oh, you are never going to be attacking with. You do not want to be attacking with Ho-Oh, because that means you kind of sort of lost all your resources and you're forced to attack with this guy. But Ho-Oh, really, the purpose of this guy is to get energy onto the board. Get energy onto the board, that way you can rearrange it with this next Pokemon, the Shaymin from, I don't even remember what that's from. I think that's like Undaunted, something like that. I'm probably wrong, but either way, the Shaymin with Celebration Wind. Once during your turn, when you put Shaymin from your hand onto your bench, you may move as many energy attached to your Pokemon as you like to any other of your Pokemon. So you can see the synergy here. Manually attached to Rayquaza Deoxys Legend. Rebirth with a Ho-Oh, get 3 energy onto it, play down Shaymin to move all the energy onto Rayquaza Deoxys Legend and attack. So, I mean, pretty simple strategy overall. However, in execution, it's a little bit more difficult than the way I explained it right there. So, I mean, very simple overall strategy. In execution, it's a lot harder to pull off. So you will go through a lot of resources in order to be able to get that. But anyway, on to the items. We are running a lot of items that just like draw you more cards, scoop up Pokemon, be able to reuse abilities, stuff like that. So first and foremost, 2 Bicycle. Just simply, if you have a low hand, play Bicycle down, draw a couple cards. Plain and simple. 1 Escape Rope. Helps you use Smeargle's Portrait ability. That way, if you have a Smeargle active, Escape Rope into another Smeargle, and then Portrait. And then that way, you still are able to retreat into your Rayquaza Deoxys Legend when you have the energy attached to it to be able to attack. So it's just pretty nice right there, and Escape Rope not only disrupts your opponent, but helps you switch out. 4 Junk Arms to not only reuse an item that is in our discard pile, but also it helps get Ho-Oh and energy into the discard pile as well. So in this deck, it really doesn't mind the fact that you have to discard with things like Junk Arm and Ultra Ball. It actually likes it because it gets resources that you need in the discard pile. And I would like to mention, I was incorrect before when I said that Dowsing Machine was basically Junk Arm. I mean, it kind of is, but Dowsing Machine lets you get a trainer card from your discard pile, while Junk Arm only gets you an item. Did I say that correctly? Dowsing Machine, trainer, Junk Arm, item. So it's basically the same thing, but with Dowsing Machine, you can get a Stadium or a supporter, which you cannot do with Junk Arm. So I just want to clarify that. I was incorrect at first. Please forgive me. Next one, we have 4 Legend boxes. Reveal the top 10 cards of your deck. If you reveal both halves of a Pokemon Legend, put those cards onto your bench and attach all revealed energy cards to that Pokemon Legend. that's really, really cool. Helps you get a Rayquaza Deoxys Legend out quicker, and also helps you with the energy attachment as well. So that's just a really cool item that I did not know existed, but has some really nice synergy with Legend cards. One reversal to help get those tricky prizes, like if you don't have a Silver Bangle on Rayquaza Deoxys Legend, you can just reversal out like a Jirachi or something, take the prize on it that turn, and there you go. You take 3 prizes right then, and you didn't have to use a Silver Bangle. So reversal, just one of 4 those specific knockouts that you might need. 3 random receiver. I normally only run 2, but 3 because we're running such a thin line of supporters that you want to be able to get one when you need it. 1 super scoop up as the A spec of choice, because a lot of these guys you're going to want to be able to super scoop up. I mean, all 3 except for Rayquaza Deoxys Legend, you're going to want to be able to scoop up, because Ho-Oh, once you play it onto the bench, it doesn't really have any use. So once you move all the energy off of it, you want to be able to get that guy back into your hand and discard it again. Smeargle, bring it back into your hand, put up another Smeargle portrait, play the Smeargle back down, and then you can switch back into the Smeargle that you super scooped up to be able to portrait again. I mean, once you put it back in your hand, it resets that. And the same thing with Shaymin. Once you play it down, it's useless. So you want to bring that back up to use its ability again. 2 Super Rods, just in case you discard like 2 of the... in case you discard all of the halves of the Legend. I mean, it really is just kind of tricky at some points. Because, I mean, if you have to Juniper away both top halves, well, the deck just kind of stops. So you want to be able to Super Rod them back in to be able to use them later. 4 Super Scoop Ups for the same reason as Scoop Up Cyclone. 1 Switch, similar reason to Escape Rope. 1 Tool Scrapper, just in case you run up against things like a Garbodor that shuts off Ho-Oh. Even though most of this deck is able to work around Garbodor, if you need Ho-Oh, Tool Scrapper is there for that, and also Floatstone for Disruption, be able to get rid of that as well. 4 Ultra Ball to search whatever we need and also discard Ho-Oh and energy. 2 Skyarrow Bridge to be able to retreat our Smeargles to multiple portrait. And then 1-3 of N and Juniper. Basically such a small line because we have the random receivers and we also need all of the items. And again, because we can have Smeargle use portrait to be able to essentially use a supporter for the turn. I mean, you won't always use a supporter of your own, but Smeargle can mill through enough cards that you will be able to get to a supporter. 2 Silver Bangle to help with the math with Ozone Buster, and then as for the energy, 1 Fighting Energy and 1 Grass Energy. Honestly, the only reason they're in here is because you have to have a different type of energy on Ho-Oh. You can't just load it up with 2 Fire and a Lightning. You have to have different types of energy, so those are the types I just decided to go with. And, well, actually, not I found this on a website and I stole the list, so it's what they decided. I will leave the link in the description if I can find it, but if I don't, sorry about that, but this is the list anyway, and it was somebody else's idea. I just wanted to go ahead and give credit where credit is due. Actually, hold on. Let me look really quick and find the person that made this list, and I'll be right back. Alright, I'm back. So the guy that made this deck was William Herman, so I want to give credit to him for building this deck. He went with a Fighting and a Grass Energy just to be able to use Rebirth as effectively as possible. 7 Fire because that's what we're going to be discarding, and then 3 Lightning because you do need Lightning in the cost of RDL to be able to attack with it. So we want to have enough of those to where we can get them when we need, but we do want to have a lot more Fire just because those are what you're discarding. So those are they're a lot shorter supply than the Electric Energy. But anyway, wow, I have rambled for way too long. Let's go ahead and see this deck in action. Sorry about talking as much as I did, guys. Alrighty, we have found one against Stream Bomber with... Alright, looks like we are up against a Ray Eels deck, and that should be very interesting. If we can get set up and going quickly, then we should have the advantage. If they get set up before we do, then we are just going to get absolutely crushed. We start with nothing, so we are going to mull again. That is the problem with the Legends. I mean, you need both sides of the card in order to be able to play it. So, I mean, not a huge deal because we are just going for, whatchamacallit. I don't even know what I was trying to say there. Not a huge deal because we will just have to give my opponent a mulligan, and we start with some stuff. We start with some pretty solid stuff. I mean, my opponent will get to go first, set up, wow, 3 Eels and a Keldeo, and they have nothing. Okay, that is beautiful. What I am going to go ahead and do is Legend Box, see if we can get something, and we actually do. We hit our first Legend Box. That is huge. That means we might be able to pull off an attack immediately, and unfortunately only get 1 energy. But what I can do is get a Ho-Oh and 2 energy into the discard pile. Ooh, I get some good stuff. Get a Silver Bangle, be able to one-shot EXs, and then I'm going to go ahead and Ultra Ball. Get rid of a... Do I want to get rid of both Legend Boxes? Well, I mean, I kind of have to because because there's only 1 piece of Rayquaza left in the deck, and it's kind of in my hand right now. What I can do is... Okay, so I misplayed there a little bit. What I should have done is Ultra Ball for a Ho-Oh and then discard the other Rayquaza Deoxys and the Ho-Oh. That way I can then draw into a Shaymin and go from there. So, a little bit of a misplay on my part, but what I am going to do right now is Shaymin. Do I want a Shaymin already? I think hold off on that. Go ahead and Ultra Ball, get rid of the Rayquaza and the other Shaymin to grab this Shaymin. And yeah, I did misplay. I should have grabbed a Ho-Oh with the Ultra Ball. That way I could have discarded another Ho-Oh. But, I mean, that just comes from not being super comfortable with this deck and not playing this deck a ton. What I do need is a single more... I need 1 more Fire Energy onto Rayquaza Deoxys, and then... Ooh, okay, can I hit the Super Scoop Up on the Smeargle? I do not. And then here's the question. Do I want to play the energy? I think I'm just going to play the energy. Might as well see what my opponent has. They have a whole lot of nothing. And yeah, just end the turn right there. Unfortunately, wasn't able to pull off the attack. What I could have done is Junk Arm for another... Junk Arm for a Bicycle. My opponent does get heads on the Thunder Wave, so that is pretty big. That actually sucks a lot that my opponent got heads off that. Let's go ahead and Trainer's Mail, see what we can get. If I can get a Super Scoop Up, I'll be fine. Let's go ahead and Juniper, get a fresh hand of 7, see if I can... Ooh, I get my Scoop Up Cyclone. I think I'm not going to bother with the Super Scoop Ups. Just go ahead and play that down. Go into my Rayquaza Deoxys Legend. Let's see. How do I want to play this? So I think I'm going to play the Fire... No. I'm going to play the Smeargle back down. Play the Fire Energy onto that, go for the Shaymin, or go for the Super Scoop Up, pick up the Ho-Oh, and I think save my resources for later. Well, after I play the Smeargle, go ahead and play the Legend Box just to get that out of here in case my opponent ends. And then Ozone Buster, knock out the Tynamo, be able to take 2 prizes off of that, and be in a phenomenal position. I even get a switch to go back into my Smeargle, and yeah, just go from there. So I have the energy on board. In fact, all I need to do is just play the Fire Energy onto my Rayquaza Deoxys, Super Scoop Up the Shaymin, play it right back down, and knock out the whatever my opponent decides to go into. My opponent will get a 6-card Colress. So of course my opponent top decks a Colress right now. Sigh. But either way, I'll be able to get another Ozone Buster off this coming turn. Potentially knock out the Keldeo if I can get a Silver Bangle back. Or knock out a Victini or a Tynamo, take 2 more prizes. And yeah, in a solid position, assuming my opponent doesn't somehow get a 3 energy Rayquaza up. Because if they get a 3 energy Rayquaza up this turn, I'll just be very upset. We do see the Rayquaza. Do we see... What would they have to have? Actually, well, we do see 1 electric. Do we see another electric? It looks like we do not. Because otherwise, I think my opponent would have just played both down. My opponent's just going to retreat into the Victini, put that up as fodder. That is completely understandable. What I am going to do, go ahead and Silver Bangle up my Rayquaza, switch into my Smeargle. And then, let's see, what do I want to do? Play the Fire Energy onto it, and then Super Scoop Up. Do I want to play the Super Scoop Up? I think... Because, I mean, I know I play Skyarrow. I think at this point I am just going to go ahead and Juniper away my hand, see if I can get something else worth playing. And okay, I get the other Ho-Oh. I am going to go ahead and Ultra Ball, get rid of the Lightning and probably the Tool Scrapper. I could play that onto the Keldeo, But I think at this point I am just going to Ultra Ball for a Ho-Oh, and then Junk Arm for like my... I think the Scoop Up Cyclone is the best play at this point. That way I can guaranteed bring up the Shaymin and be able to hit for a... and be able to hit with an Ozone Buster this turn to take 2 more prizes. So, I mean, odds are there is a better way to play this deck. I really do believe that. I mean, I think that Emboar or Typhlosion Prime could be a little bit better, but I mean, I love Turbo. I love Turbo anything. I think that is so much fun. I am going to go ahead and scoop up the Shaymin, play the Shaymin right back down, rearrange my energy, get the Fire Energy onto my Rayquaza Deoxys Legend, and I think keep the energy on the Smeargle for now. Go ahead and Portrait, get that Juniper, and so I will get a fresh hand of 7 cards, and I'm actually almost decked out. I just realized that. What I think I'm actually going to do is Reversal, try to take out that Rayquaza, because that is going to be the biggest problem for me. Get rid of the Ho-Oh and the Fighting Energy to grab the Reversal again. Just try to hit that Rayquaza. I need to knock that thing out. I get another tail, so that is very unfortunate. And you know what? I'm going to go all out right now. Am I? Yeah, I'm going to go all out on this Reversal. I really am, because I need to knock out... I need to knock out this Rayquaza. That is the only thing that is a potential threat to me. Finally, I hit my Reversal. I go 1 for 3. I'm going to retreat into my Rayquaza Deoxys Legend, and then Ozone Buster, knock out the Rayquaza EX, and take 3 prizes, be 1 prize away from winning this match. And oh, this is that was a very resource intensive turn. Was it worth it? We'll see. I'm not 100% sure that it was worth it. I don't know. Either way, I'm able to get Rayquaza up. I was able to get an attack off, and now all I need to do is just knock out a Dynamo or an Electric. Not even necessarily with Rayquaza. I can knock it out with Ho-Oh in order to win the game. Okay. What I'm probably going to have to do is target down the Victini now that my opponent got both Electric up. Because, I mean, Electric take 4 different energy on Ho-Oh to be a knockout, while Victini only takes 3. That Victini will 100% be what I am going to have to target down in order to win this, and this is going to be close because I'm pretty much out of resources. Admittedly, if I can just get 2 more energy onto my Rayquaza Deoxys Legend, I'm gonna win. So, I mean, I'm not too worried about it, but okay, we do see the Raikou come down. So my opponent, if they have a single energy in their hand, they will be able to knock out one of the things on my bench, like the Shaymin or one of the Smeargle. So, as long as they don't target down, I guess, the Rayquaza Deoxys Legend or the Ho-Oh, I think I should be okay. Does my opponent not have an energy in hand? Because if they don't, then I will be able to survive the turn without having a prize taken on me. Okay, never mind. They do have an energy. They will be able to knock out something. And what are they going to bring in? Okay, they just go for the Tool Scrapper. You know what? That was an excellent play by my opponent. Get rid of the Silver Bangle. Get rid of my ability to one-shot the EXs and all of that. So, I mean, that was a very, very good play by my opponent. Going to Volt Bolt, take out the Shaymin. I think that that was a 100% smart play, too, because in case I was able to Super Scoop that thing up, I would be able to rearrange my energy. And alright, so how am I going to do this? I think right now I have to retreat. I have to Escape Rope. I think I'm just going to go into my Smeargle. Yeah, let's go ahead and go into Smeargle. My opponent brings up Keldeo. That is fine. And then I need to start getting damage. I need to start getting damage. I only have 2 types of energy in my discard pile. I will have a 3rd type with the Lightning. So as long as I hit one of these rebirths, I will be able to start actually attacking with Ho-Oh. Now, you know you are kind of at an impasse if you're going to be attacking with your Ho-Oh. I'm going to go ahead and play the Lightning Energy onto that guy. And I have... Okay, I need Fire Energy. Let's see what my opponent has. They just have a Victini. Honestly, if they had a Juniper, I would be kind of screwed because then I'd deck out. But what I am going to do is... I see that my opponent has no resources in their hand. So while they will be able to attack with Victini for 100 damage, that's fine because they won't be able to knock me out, and then Ho-Oh will be able to knock out the Victini for my last prize, and I'll be able to take the win. So my opponent is in a situation where he can't attack with anything. Of course he top decks another Colress. Oh my gosh, that is ridiculous. Oh, my opponent is getting so lucky off these top decks. I can't believe that. Wow, okay. That's frustrating. That's the game. It does happen. That always happens in the game, and doesn't make it any less frustrating, but it's just kind of funny how both times I've portraited, got nothing off of that, and then my opponent top decks immediately into a card that gets them out of the situation and sets them up perfectly, because otherwise I would have been able to hit this Keldeo again, get more damage, all of that, but because my opponent was able to top deck the Colress, I wasn't able to draw into anything, so that was very unfortunate. My opponent will be able to take another knockout, probably, or, okay, they can attack the Ho-Oh, or they can knock out a Smeargle. It's really up to my opponent. They are just going to knock out a Smeargle. The Smeargle with energy, that is an excellent choice. I cannot argue with that at all. I will be able to get another attack off with Ho-Oh this turn, and I just have to manage my resources properly. I am going to go ahead and Random Receiver. I have an N, and there is a Fire Energy left in my deck. So there's at least one. I'm pretty sure there's two if I counted correctly. So I'm going to N for one, hopefully draw into the Fire Energy and not the Random Receiver, which, okay, luckily I do. There should be another Fire Energy left in my deck. I'm going to play this onto the Rayquaza Deoxys Legend, force my opponent to either attack with Raikou or attack with Victini. Either way. Okay, so right now I have knockouts set up on the Raikou, the Keldeo, the Victini, and both electric. If my opponent attacks with the Rayquaza, I will have to get damage off on that too, in order to be able to take a knockout with Ozone Buster, because both of my Silver Bangles are in the discard pile. If I had a Silver Bangle, then I'd be able to win the game. But right now, the contents of my deck, if I counted correctly, and if I'm not, and if it's not prized, should be a Random Receiver and a no, not a Random Receiver. Should be a Skyarrow and a Fire Energy. So if that's the contents of my deck, my opponent looks like they are going to go ahead and Dynamotor onto the Rayquaza. As long as they don't take out my Rayquaza Deoxys Legend, I should be okay, because they will not be able to knock out my Ho-Oh this turn. They'll be able to get 120 damage off, but they won't be able to knock me out, and then I'll be able to hit the Rayquaza for 80 damage, which will set it up, even with an Eviolite, for being knocked out by an Ozone Buster. So really, this match is coming down to the wire. There's no two ways about it. I'm going to have to attack with Rainbow Burn in order to be able to set up the Rayquaza to be knocked out. And as long as my opponent does not knock out my RDL, I should be fine. I should have the win. And as long as my prize isn't what it might be. If my prize is my last Fire Energy, then I lose. But if it's not, then I think I'm fine, because I think I counted correctly with my deck. Okay, there's my Fire Energy. I have one left in my deck. I have one card left in my deck. I'm not going to play it onto my Rayquaza Deoxys Legend so that my opponent thinks that I don't have another attacker that I can potentially win the game with. I think at this point, I'm just going to Rainbow Burn, set the Rayquaza up to be knocked out, because right now, the only attacker I have on my board is the Ho-Oh. That's it. All I have is the Ho-Oh, and my opponent, I'm hoping that I can lure them into thinking that my Ho-Oh is the threat and not the Rayquaza Deoxys Legend, because the Ho-Oh will not be able to two-shot this Rayquaza. The only way I can knock out the Rayquaza next turn and not deck out is with my Rayquaza Deoxys Legend, but again, my opponent doesn't know that. For all they know, I might have another N in my hand to be able to take another hit on the Rayquaza EX, so I mean, it really comes down to, what do they attack? If they attack my Ho-Oh, I have the win. I mean, either way, even if they play an N, I'm still going to draw one card, and I'll be able to draw into my last card regardless. So, they can't even play an N. That's right, because they just played a Juniper. So as long as my opponent knocks out anything except for my Rayquaza Deoxys Legend, I do have the win. That's how it is. My opponent is just going to Super Rod, get some more resources, hopefully not deck out, and then... well, Ho-Oh really did put the team on its back. It was able to spread damage around onto the EXs to where they would be set up for Ozone Buster knockouts if I had the resources. And then this will come down to literally the last card in my deck. I mean, it will come down to me going through my entire deck, all of my resources. My last fire energy will be what wins me the game. And wow, my opponent is just going to Dragon Burst the Ho-Oh. So I do have the win right now. Oh my gosh, that was such a close game. Oh, wow. Whew. Oh boy. I am just going to go immediately into my Rayquaza Deoxys Legend. I have the fire energy in my hand. I'm going to attach that and then win the game with an Ozone Buster. We proved in this match who is the superior Rayquaza, and there's my Super Rod. So, I mean, if I had the Super Rod or the fire energy, if I had either of those, I would have been able to get enough energy back into my deck to win the game. But either way, comes down to the very, very last card in my deck. That was such a ridiculously clutch match and such a ridiculously intense hype, all of that stuff. Can't believe we were able to pull it out. But again, Turbo RDL proved that it was a really, really awesome idea. And I mean, this deck is so much fun. It really is. Being able to Ozone Buster turn 1 is just so cool. And are there better builds? I could probably see like Emboar or Typhlosion Prime, like I said, being a little bit better in terms of consistency. But the fact that this deck can Ozone Buster turn 1 was just too awesome to pass up. So either way, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Leave your answer to the question of the day in the comment section below. Like, comment, subscribe, all of that stuff. And this is Styx signing out. Why not? See you guys.